Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our talk today in English here at NECAFLA, the Center for Spiritist Studies Camille Flammarion here in Brussels. And this evening we prepared something a bit different for you, which is the topic of the Gospel according to Spiritism. As you can see, it's called the progression of the world. And something, when we look at this text, we will realize how actual this text is. And the idea today is to see how the Spiritist teachings, taking it onward from there, can help us to understand the situation that we're living, the current moment that we're going through here on our planet, a bit better, or to offer at least this point of view that the Spiritist teachings give us. And maybe it can help some of you to look at what is going on from a different point of view. So, because if you have someone who explains us the background of things from their point of view, it may sometimes really help us to get a different perspective, to look at things from a different angle, and maybe to also understand them from a different point of view. If that's something that you can relate to, you will see, but this is what we're going to offer you today. And I warmly invite you to join us for this study of chapter 3. It's chapter 3, item 19 in the Gospel according to Spiritism. But as usual, we start with our initial prayer. And so I would like to invite you to calm down for a second, to connect, and to elevate our thoughts, elevate our vibrations, forget about our worries for a moment. They will still be there afterwards, but now is the moment to calm down and lift up our spirits. And let's ask God for inspiration for the study of this evening, so we may perhaps find a way to understand what is going on our planet at this moment. So be it. So I would start with not reading the whole text to you right now, but really with the first paragraph of this text, which is called The Progression of the World. And I will just take this out here to see you better. Because it's already a very strong beginning. Because it starts like that. Progress is a law of nature. All beings of creation, animated or not, have been submitted to this law through the bounty of God, who wishes everything to be exalted and to prosper. Even actual destruction that appears to be the end of everything is only a means of reaching a more perfected state through transformation. Seeing that everything dies only to be reborn again, suffering no consequence from the annihilation. Now that's a very short text, but very rich, I think. First of all, because it reminds us that all beings of creation are supposed to progress, and it's not just a suggestion, but it is a law that applies to everything and everyone, if we believe in it or not, if we want it or not. It's a law. Progress is a natural law. And in former talks, we talked about the progress of ourselves, us being mortal spirits that have been created in order to progress, in order to reach perfection one day. Which is, of course, a very long process, which is not being reached in one incarnation, but we go through many different incarnations in order to progress steadily. And just as we, as spirits and as human beings, progress, so we also learn in the Spiritist teachings that, as the text says, also inanimated beings of creation progress. So also the planets that we live on, that we inhabit, our planet progresses. And this text talks about the progression of worlds. And this second sentence that talks about the destruction that appears to be the end of everything, is only a means of reaching a more perfected state through transformation, not through real destruction. It's not really the actual end, but everything is being transformated. Nothing in nature ceases to exist, but is being transformed. And as the text goes on, only to be reborn again and suffering no consequence from the annihilation. And I think this really reminds us of a lot of things that are going on right now. Well, even here in Belgium, we have seen a lot of destruction and a lot of suffering in the recent weeks due to the floods that have been going on. And wherever we look around the world, we see a lot of destruction and a lot of suffering in that sense going on, and we try to understand why, what's going on. We see so many fires around the world, we see floods, we see hurricanes, and well, apart from the earthquakes and so many other things that are going on. Why is this destruction then happening? And this also is explained in the Spirit's book, another book of the Spiritist Philosophy, or the first and basic book where Allan Kardec had asked all the questions that he found relevant about life to the high order spirits. And one chapter, chapter 6, talks about the law of destruction as well. So taking it from there, why is destruction happening? And actually he asks the high order spirits, is destruction a law of nature? Which they say, yes, it is necessary, but it has an objective. It's not just destruction for the sake of destructing things, because when we go through the Spirit's book and open it at the first question, we learn about the supreme intelligence that is taking care of everything that is happening, and that nothing happens without a reason. So there must be something more behind that, although it may be difficult for us to understand it at the moment when it is happening. So the high order spirits teach us that what we call destruction is only a transformation, the objective of which is the renovation and improvement of living creatures. And this takes us to question 737, where Allan Kardec explicitly asks about natural disasters, because they do cause a lot of destruction, as we all know. And he asks the Spirit, what is the purpose? Why does God inflict natural disasters on mankind? And the Spirits explain us to compel mankind to advance more quickly. One very important sentence is, you must see the end in order to appreciate the results of what is happening. And I think this is the crucial point. At the moment, we just see what is happening, and we see all the suffering going on, and everything, or many things that have been dear to us, being destructed. But we do not see what is going on in about in a few decades or in 100 years. We do not know what are the results, what is actually coming out of this. And this is what the Spirits invite us to look at. You must see the end in order to appreciate the results. You only judge such things from your own personal point of view, and you call them calamities because of the damage they cause you. However, these hardships are often necessary in order to make things arrive at a better state of affairs more quickly, accomplishing in a few years that which would otherwise require many centuries. And as this invites us really to think in a longer term. Just in a few questions later, 739, the Spirits explain us that the results of those modifications that come out of those calamities are only felt by, or very often only felt by, future generations. So this is one very crucial point for us to understand. And then we might say, why does this generation have to suffer so much destruction if the results are only felt by future generations? So first of all, of course, we do have our children. This is the generation that follows us, that we invest in. But also one thing that we should not forget is that we reincarnate over and over again, so that future generation might be ourselves as well, and also those who have been affected by those sufferings, maybe reincarnating in that same area again at some stage, and see the progress that has been happening. And following this text in the Gospel, it explains us a bit more about the progress of the world and the progress of our planet. And it says, at the same time as living beings progress morally, so us, the incarnate spirits, so the world in which they live progress materially. If we were to accompany a world during its different phases, from the first instant the atoms destined to its construction began to agglomerate, we would see it traveling along on a constantly progressive scale. Although these steps would be imperceptible to each generation, it would offer its inhabitants a more agreeable home as the generations pass, according to the manner by which they themselves advance along their pathway to progress. Therefore, we find that together with humans, the animals that are their helpers, the vegetables, and the habitations, all are constantly marching along, because nothing in nature remains stationary. As we heard in the very beginning, it's a law. Progress is a law, and we are all subject to that law. And then the text goes on, how glorious this idea is, and so worthy of the candor of the Creator. It would be paltry and unworthy of his power if, on the contrary, he concentrated his solicitude and providence on an insignificant grain of sand, which is this planet, so restricting humankind to the few people who inhabit it. And this touches upon a very important point, which is the plurality of, or the fact that not only our planet is inhabited by human beings, but all planets that exist. And this is something that we, for example, learn in the Spirits book as well. In question 55, which talks about the plurality of worlds. Here the Spirits explain very clearly that not only our planet exists and exists, we're all aware that there are many others existing, but that we're not the only on the only planet which is inhabited, but all of them are inhabited. Going back to the point that nothing happens without a reason, and that God does not create anything without a useful purpose. The Spirits remind us that he wouldn't have created the whole universe just to please us, so we have something to look at at night, all the beautiful stars sparkling, but all the planets are inhabited indeed. And the fact that we don't really have proof at this stage, and we can't see those inhabitants yet. Some may have seen some UFOs, but not really. Many of us unofficially have seen them, but that fact doesn't mean that they don't exist on another vibratory level that we are not able to see yet at this stage. But they're very clear. The Spirits explain us very clearly all of the planets are inhabited, and there are planets which are in a very primitive state, where humankind goes through their first incarnations. Then we move on through the worlds of trials and expiation. This is already when the world has progressed a bit more. This is actually the state where our planet has been in for a long time, where spirits who still have to go through their tests, through their atonements, incarnate like us. And we see that we are not living on a happy planet yet. We see there is a lot of suffering going on, and that this is still outweighing the happy times. But this is due to our stage of development, and we are living on a planet that is adequate to our development. And then we learn that further on, when a planet develops further, it becomes a regenerating world. And we will come to this fact in this text as well, And those of us who have been studying the Spiritist teachings have heard that over and over again, that we are in a phase of transition right now from that world of trial and expiation, or of tests and atonement, to a regenerative world. And what does that mean? So this is a more developed world where we still, what the spirits who do incarnate they still have something to expiate. They're not perfect yet, but it is a place where we will find a bit of peace, and where we can rest from the struggles. And actually, in that same chapter 3, we will find a description of those regenerating worlds, where we learn that we already that humankind is already free from what is called the muddled passions. There's no pride, no envy anymore. We will have overcome any hatred, and our relationships will be much more peaceful and based really on fraternal love that we are trying to achieve. So we will still have material bodies, we will still suffer some vicissitudes, but they are much less painful than they can be now. And this is where our planet is going to. This is the direction where we're going to, where the planet develops. And this phase of transition is really one of a lot of trouble, where everything seems to be taken out of place, but then in order to be put into a more adequate order, a more progressive one. And this is something that we will only see much later. But we see a few steps already now, but the big picture is still difficult to acknowledge at this stage, where everything seems to be out of order, in the sense that that's really being shaken in order then to settle down again and in a better condition, as the Spirit's book and also the Gospel and the other basic books of the Spiritist teachings that explain us. It's really meant to speed up progress, all the sufferings that we're going through at this moment. And to finalize with this text in the Gospel. According to this law, according to the law of progress, Earth has been in a materially and morally inferior position to that which it finds itself in today, and it will lift itself up in both these aspects in order to reach a more elevated degree in the future. The time has now been reached for one of these periodic transformations, which will move the Earth upward from a world of atonement to that of a regenerating planet, where humanity will be happy because God's laws will reign. And this text has been written through mediumistic writing, or received in 1862. And it's by the spirit of St. Augustine. So in 1862, he already told us that our planet has reached one of those periodic transformations, which will move the Earth upward from a world of atonement to that of a regenerating planet. So we're really in that process right now, and as we hear from some of the some messages by spirits, it's really the peak of this transformation, and it is definitely a tough time for all of us, and it's difficult to see what is going on. But studying the Spiritist teachings, and also this can only be a short contribution today, because it's really worth studying all those chapters that I've mentioned in the Spirit's book and in the Gospel as well, talking about the progression of planets, talking about the plurality of worlds, talking about the law of progress. All of that, all this study helps us really to understand that this is necessary. It is hard, but it is necessary, and that the end, the results, will be positive, will be progress, will be a planet where we will have better conditions, and where we will then reach that regenerative world that we would all like to achieve one day. But we also learn that we will need to adapt to that planet. So we have our planet progressing, but humanity also progresses. And if we hear that these are worlds where we are more or less happy already, and where fraternal love reigns, then we will need to adapt to that in order to also reincarnate on that world in our next incarnation. And we are here in order to learn, in order to overcome our challenges that we all have. I'm not speaking with a finger raised, but I'm grateful for that opportunity as well, and I know I have a lot to learn and to overcome. But this is why we have all those lessons that life invites us to learn to be patient, to learn to reach out to others, and talking about all the natural disasters that have happened in the last weeks. I'd also like to pay tribute to all those who volunteered, for example, here in Belgium, to help people who were affected by the floods. We've seen such a huge wave of solidarity, so that brought really that fraternal love out of so many of us, because we realized that was what has happened. It was not the first floods, obviously, in Europe, but the scale of everything that has happened here in Germany, in Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, the scale was just so huge that so many people asked themselves, how can I help? What can I do? And especially in the first days where it was difficult for authorities to take care of all of the affected places. So many volunteers organized help in many, many different ways, and everyone seemed to offer what they had to offer. So it was really beautiful to see. And that's actually also in that part of the Spirits book that I mentioned, from question 728 onwards. Actually, the Spirits explain us that one aim also of those trials that happen to us is to enable us to develop our sentiments of selflessness, detachment, and love for our neighbor. And this is, I think, what we've seen recently as a huge, huge wave as well. So we can conclude that transformation is necessary. It is part of the law of progress, and we will have to do our parts to transform ourselves as well. So that's basically what I would like to invite us to think about at this stage. Also inviting to continue studying these teachings, which really help us to strengthen our faith that is so much needed in these situations. And what I would like to do now, because I mentioned this text from the Gospel, and this is one of the two translations into English that I know. The Gospel According to Spiritism is this one, and this book has been translated by, I now have to try and put the slides back on, by a lady who just celebrated her 93rd birthday last Friday on the 6th of August, Janet Duncan. She translated the Gospel According to Spiritism into English, and the final revision has been published 2 years ago in 2019. And this is just one of the contributions that she offered to the Spiritist teachings here in Europe, to enable us to study it also in other languages than the original French one. And there's a very beautiful, if you're interested in learning a bit more about her very, very inspiring life, there's a very beautiful homage in a video on YouTube, which I just show here. on her 90th birthday, Janet Duncan, A Beautiful Journey, which really explains, and I think it's half an hour, about her journey, her life, and how she got to know the Spiritist teachings and how she brought them to Europe, how she shared them with others in the UK. It's a very beautiful story of her life, and which can inspire many of us. And let me just show you where you can find this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism, which is part of the 5 basic books of the Spiritist teachings. This version can be found either on as a paperback on acccording, Association Allan Kardec.fr, and also on Amazon, both as a Kindle and paperback version if you're interested in that. And on our website, nekafla.be, we also have the translations that have been published by the International Spiritist Council, not only of the Gospel According to Spiritism, but also the other basic books. You can download them and have them and study them. That's the invitation today. So thanks for your patience. Thanks for joining us this evening. And if you would like to know more about our group, we have all the informations and all our activities published on our website, nekafla.be. And for the next weeks, at least, we continue with our public talks online in French and English on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and once a month also in Portuguese on Saturdays at 5 p.m. So thanks very much. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to invite you to our final prayer. And today, also sending out some vibrations to all those who are suffering with everything that is going on our planet at the moment with humankind. So I'd like to take this opportunity and thank God for giving us this chance to study together, to offer us these teachings that have helped us a lot to look at life not only from the material point of view, but from another angle as eternal spirits that we are. I'd like to thank the mentors of our group, Nekafla, and I'd like to invite all of us to send out our best vibrations to all those who are going through difficult moments, those who are suffering, those who are looking for some hope, may they be incarnate or discarnate. And I also like to ask for light and inspiration so we may find our way to contribute the best way we can. So be it. Thank you very much, everybody. Wishing you a nice summer and take care. See you the next time.